This is rental car number 35, and today I'm driving the 2017 Infiniti QX80 Limited Edition. I've driven a lot of rental cars, and this is by far the most expensive one I've ever had. The 2017 Infiniti QX80 Limited Edition MSRP's for a whopping $89,450. This is a full-size SUV with seats for 7. Comes standard with a V8 and over 400 horsepower. Mileage per gallon on this car isn't great, but I think that's pretty expected considering how large it is. But you do get 13 miles to the gallon in the city and 19 on the highway. Now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NHTSA, has not rated this car, so unfortunately we can't talk about safety. But I can mention a couple of other reviews that have been done on this car. U.S. News and Report gave it an 8.1 out of 10. Car and Driver gave it a 3 out of 5, and Edmunds gave this one a 4 out of 5. And I think all three of those reviews are pretty spot on because this is a good car, but it's definitely not a great car. So let's break down why I think that. So when you buy a big car like this, I think storage is definitely something that you're considering. And this car has plenty of storage. Here's the back with the third row seats down. And I think you can see you get plenty of space back here. This is a huge amount of cargo room. So this is a luxury car. So you get electronic controls to control the third row seats. This is standard speed. I think it's kind of annoyingly slow, so let me speed things up for you so you can get kind of a quick feel for how this works. These controls are actually pretty handy. It's pretty far back to reach the third row seats, so I think it's a nice feature to include. Getting into the third row seat is actually pretty easy. You just lift up on this small lever, and the middle row seats just kind of fold really gently in place, and then you can get in pretty easily. And the back row is actually pretty comfortable. I'm about 6 feet tall, and when I sit back in here, I can actually fit. I mean, I don't have a ton of room, but I do have about an inch of leg room, which is pretty good for a third row seat. And then I think it's worth mentioning that there are actually controls for the third row seats right here in the third row, so you could collapse the seats from inside the vehicle as well. And then getting out of the third row is actually pretty easy. You just pull up on that same lever and the seats just sort of fall forward really nicely. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with the third row. It's not super comfortable, but adults can actually sit back here, which is a huge plus. And before we talk about the front of the vehicle, I also want to mention that in the back, in the trunk space, there's actually a nice hidden compartment right here for you to keep some other odds and ends. It's not too deep, but I think there's enough space in there where you could actually get some use out of this. All right, so that's the third row. Let's jump back out of the vehicle so that we can take a look at the front seats. You do get keyless entry with this car, so as long as you have the key fob in your pocket, you can press this little button on the door and it will automatically unlock. And then jumping up and looking at the front seat, I think you'll agree with me that this looks and feels like a $90,000 car. It is pretty nice. There's leather seats, wood inlays around the dash, and everything has sort of a premium feel to it. Well, almost everything feels luxurious, not the key fob. Here's what it looks like, just standard buttons. This doesn't have a very nice weight to it. It's just kind of a standard key fob. Thankfully though, you do get a push button start, which is located right here to the right of the steering wheel, and things boot up pretty quickly, so the car is ready to go within about 3 or 4 seconds. The steering wheel is really nice. If you'll notice, it has a wood inlay around the entire thing. You get buttons on the left to interact with the entertainment controls, and then your cruise controls on the right. And then above the steering wheel, you get the gauge cluster, which I think is beautiful. It's got really nice sized gauges, and then you get a small electronic screen right in the center. The center screen definitely is going to impress you. It doesn't have any color or anything like that, but it does show you the basic information that you need while you're driving. And then this vehicle does come with a push pedal parking brake, which I'm not a huge fan of, especially in a luxury car like this, but I don't think it's a deal breaker by any means. Then shifting your gaze up top, you do get a nice sunglass holder with some decent padding, along with some push lights that illuminate pretty nicely, and then a panic button right there in the center. And then the rear view mirror has an automatic dimming feature, along with the buttons to control your garage door if you were to set that up. The center console is pretty nice. You do get a touchscreen along with controls for pretty much anything around the vehicle. At first glance, this seems pretty fancy, but after you sort of engage with it for a while, it's kind of annoying. So let me kind of explain what I mean by that. First off, let's talk about this screen. It looks pretty decent, but after you play around with it for a while, you notice that the display isn't that crisp. It's not that sharp, and it's actually kind of difficult to see in bright light. Resolution is also pretty bad, so I had trouble sort of making out really small details on the mapping feature. That low quality feel continues to the rear view camera, which is a little bit blurry and not too crisp. It's definitely still usable, but it's not the best one I've seen by far. There are also some dedicated buttons right below the screen, but I found these to be very unuseful. Like, for example, there's no button to switch directly to your Bluetooth device, which is the button that I really wanted. And then continuing down even further, there are more buttons to interact with the entertainment features, but it seems like Infiniti was more concerned with design than actual function. Just for example, I don't know why you need a huge analog clock in the middle of this. It's super hard to see, and the touchscreen up above has a huge digital clock, which is what you're going to look at anyway. Also, the volume knob and then the knob to control the temperature are identical. This is the one to control the temperature. It doesn't control the fan. This is what you twist on and twist off to control how hot the vehicle is going to get. To control the fan, you have to use these buttons in the center. One for off. It doesn't turn the fan back on, by the way. And then two buttons on the left and right to control how high the fan is going to blow. Now these buttons are pretty small and they're actually really far away from the driver's seat, so you do have to lean forward and stretch just to adjust the fan. And then down a little bit further, you do get some nice buttons to turn on the heated seats, and there's also a heated steering wheel, all which is really nice. But these buttons are almost impossible to get to because they're right behind the gear shift. So again, you have to lean forward and reach to touch these buttons, and then you also have to manipulate your arm around the gear shift, which is just really annoying. So that's why I think Infiniti was more concerned with the look than the actual function. And there's no doubt this is beautifully designed. I mean, I love this wood paneling that hides all the cup holders. It opens and closes extremely smoothly. And there's this nice dedicated spot right here for a cell phone, which I'm a huge fan of. I also really love that there's an actual USB port right here, so you can hook up your cell phone and charge it back up if you need to. And then directly behind the gear shift, you get this nice knob to sort of control the different settings for the vehicle. If you're going to drive in snow, if you want four-wheel drive, etc., etc. I drove in spring on the highway, so I didn't need these features, but the buttons definitely feel like they're premium made. And that's the same for the center armrest. I mean, this thing slides forward and backwards super smooth. The leather is extremely soft, and then when you open it up, you get a nice storage space underneath here with plenty of room to fill it up with all your junk, along with some ports to connect your gadgets to the car itself. And then I was pretty shocked that there's no blindside detection on this car. I mean, for $90,000, you think you would get an option like this standard, but it is not available on the Infiniti QX80. And that's a shame, because this is a big car, and I think you could really use the benefit of a little extra safety when you're changing lanes. But enough negativity. Let's talk about the center captain's chairs, which are absolutely enormous. They're super comfortable, plenty of legroom, and you also get your own dedicated center armrest, which has a huge storage area right here in the center. I think you can store a ton of stuff down there. You get your own cup holders right here, which is really nice, and then this beautiful inlay. In the back of the front center armrest, you also get volume controls to interact with the entertainment features. And then on the front of the back center armrest, I hope that makes sense, you also get this additional storage space right here. And then looking up, you also get a pretty sizable sunroof right here above everything to sort of illuminate the cabin. And this opens manually. The sunshade just pops open there. And then there are controls right by the sunglass holder to open it all up. This is a really nice size. I mean, it's definitely not the biggest out there, but the controls are really easy, and then it opens and closes pretty quickly. All right, so let's close things out by talking about how the QX80 drives. You got to remember this is a very, very large vehicle, so it doesn't corner great, but driving it is actually pretty nice. You're pretty high up, so you don't feel any of the bumps when you go over them, and you got a nice V8 engine, so it accelerates actually pretty quickly. I drove this car for about 2 days. I probably put about 160 miles on it, and I really liked it. It's super comfortable on the highway, it accelerates smoothly, and all in all, it's just a nice car. But I guess the question for me is it worth $90,000? Because that is a huge, huge price tag for a vehicle like this. And in the end, I just don't think so. So I'm going to give the 2017 Infiniti QX80 Limited Edition 3 stars. This is a very nice vehicle, but it needs some fixes before I'm going to give it a higher rating. Definitely need to redesign the climate controls. Definitely need to redesign some of the entertainment features and put in a nice new touchscreen. But otherwise, all in all, this is a really nice SUV. And it should be, because it's $90,000. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and please check out the description. I've tried to put a lot more details down there about this vehicle, just in case you're curious. Thanks again, and I hope you'll join me next time when I rent my 36th rental car.